What's up, everybody? It's Mick Manhattan, and this is the Scene Snobs Channel. I am bringing to you every Monday the replay marathon, where we show all of last week's shows right in sequential order down the line. You can watch them all throughout the Monday and stay entertained. So make sure you're checking us out on the Facebook page every Monday, starting at 9 a.m. All right, thanks, everybody. And if you missed any of the shows, make sure you head over to thescenesnobs.com, where we have links to everything. Take care. What's going on, everybody? It's the Scene Snob, Mick Manhattan, and I'm here to tell you guys about thescenesnobs.com. We're a channel of variety, comedy, entertainment, geek-related, sports, the whole nine yards. We cover almost every genre. And we have so many great shows to choose from. We have shows like the Scene Snobs Podcast, BTB Podcast, The Guapo Show, the Sports Snobs Podcast, the PVD Cast, Jeff Dwoskin presents Crossing the Streams, the Three Geeks Podcast, the Fandom Effect. We probably have the only Matlock-based podcast called Matt Talk, and we're introducing new shows all the time. We have new shows coming up like the Ear Hustling Podcast, Carpool Shenanigans, and of course, From Some Nobodies, Twitching Upstream and Talking Upstream. So come on, check out thescenesnobs.com, enjoy it, and please leave feedback. Like, follow, subscribe us, and just let us know what you think. We love to have all the interaction. So I, again, am the Scene Snob, Mick Manhattan. Check out thescenesnobs.com. You can follow us anywhere on social media at The Scene Snob. And we will talk to you guys soon. Take care.
Welcome to Pulling Focus, a podcast about movies and filmmaking, brought to you by Skyline Indie Film Fest and thescenesnobs.com in Winchester, Virginia. Here are your hosts, Brian Patrick and Mick Manhattan.
Hello and welcome, everybody, to the Pulling Focus podcast. I'm one of your two hosts, Brian Patrick from Skyline Indie Film Fest, and sitting in a chair a long, long way from here, but sounds like he's in the room, is Mr. Mick Manhattan, the Scene Snob himself. How's it going, Mick?
Hey, man, what's going on? Welcome back to another show.
And like the lady at the beginning said, we are Pulling Focus podcast. We talk about movies and filmmaking, and that's what we love to do, and that's what we're here to do, and we hope you enjoy it. So welcome to the show, everybody.
Yeah, I love, because we get to see each other on video, but none of you out there listening. You have I don't know what your rate speed is right now, but you look like you're on PBS. And I feel smarter for watching you as we do this show.
Yeah, I think I'm in a broadcast, a BBC type broadcast, 30 frames per second. Maybe. I have no idea, actually.
I'm in a blown out because I have a lamp right ahead of me and I have a giant forehead, so it doesn't help the situation.
Yeah, that's funny. Maybe this will be the cover of this episode, maybe. And but I should show you this, though. I think you know this, but I am not in a studio. I am in a basement.
Just like a studio.
An unfinished, raw wall, concrete everywhere. My desk is an upside down box spring.
I'm proud of my desk. I got it from my father-in-law. It's from the Watergate.
Really?
Yeah, and it was from the 70s. Watergate furniture, because when they were selling all of that furniture, when they were revamping or whatever,
right,
he went and bought tons of furniture from it. And he still has a bunch in his house and stuff like that. But he had this desk, and he's like, I have this desk. I don't need it anymore. I have another one. It's from the Watergate. I'm like, that's a great conversation piece. He wanted me to use it for podcasting. I was like, yeah. And I've never talked about it until now.
That's hilarious. Is that the one that I sat at the two times that we did record in person?
It's the one you sat right next to.
Okay. Yeah. Huh. That's funny.
I kicked the chair, though. The chair is upstairs in my wife's office because it's uncomfortable as hell.
Yeah. When you sit and record, and I only do one show, but you do 130 shows, your chair's got to be good. Your chair's got to be comfortable. Mine squeaks, but I can sit mostly still for the hour and a half that we record. I listen to some podcasts, and it's just, all you hear is just wee, and you can hear him breathe. I'm like, guys, back up.
I try so hard to keep away from, I'm a loud enough guy anyway. So like I try to like keep my mic at least like 2 feet away, so I'm not that loud. Yeah. But you can attest to this. My ums and my and all that stuff, like they tend to pop out. So
yeah,
you're still
well. Since we're going to criticize podcasting and verbal crutches and stuff like that, I do keep a hashtag mark of our ums and uhs and our tongue clicks and our there I go. There's another hash mark right there, and just so that I hopefully over time see them reduce. But yeah, they're not. They're not reducing at all.
And I gotta imagine in every, like with all of the shows I do, because it can't be just this one. So like I can't even imagine how many hash marks there would be just in 1 week of me doing shows.
You do a lot of shows. So
I do so many shows.
Well, and that's a big one of mine right there. Is like when I finish talking, I say so, and it's like. So like I'm just doing them naturally right now as a demonstration. God damn it.
Oh, it's such an easy, fun thing to do, this podcasting, isn't it?
It is. So we record for an hour and a half. You send me the video file. I listen back to it and I edit and stuff like that. It's like one show is like 6-8 hours sometimes to get it done and get it put up on, our streams and stuff like that. It's God damn it, I did it again.
I love it.
We're gonna have to get a cowbell and start like shaming each other with a cowbell or something. That'll be a great episode. Just be like bang, bang, bang. Anyway, I'm trying to work on it, and the more I think about it, the worse it gets, it seems like. So I think preparing helps, and today I am not prepared whatsoever.
It's funny. I had this conversation. I was talking to another podcaster yesterday, and he was like, "Yeah, I write out a script for every episode." And I was like, "It shows." He was like, "So what do you write out?" I was like, "Yeah, nothing." I was like, "I come up with topic ideas, and like I talk to my co-host, and we write it out in text, like what we want to talk about and stuff like that." But for the most part, like if you like a script, no, we don't have a script. I was like, it does not feel natural to me whatsoever.
Yeah, I've never been able to. I tried it initially with Skyline IndieCast some years ago or whatever. I tried to script it out, but it was a one-hander. It was just me. And there's another thing. There's always a dog barking in our episode because I have 2 dogs that can't shut up. But yeah, I tried to script it out, but then it just sounded like a bad acting audition. I hated it.
Yeah.
So that podcast failed.
I because I do all of this crap on my own, like just the technical side here, I was like, all right, I need like buffers, like little commercials to put up to talk about the site and stuff. And I got to a point where I went and I recorded them myself, and it was just me talking about this stuff. And then I put music to it, and I put up like fancy cards and stuff that I built for the shows. And so I go and I record it, and I'm like, that's good enough. And then like when I listen to it, I'm just like, there's so much wrong with it. But I was like, but it's good enough for now. Because like that's like the whole what the Scene Snobs is. It's like if it's on my end, it has to be perfection for everybody else. But like from my end, it's like it's good enough. Like it gets the point across. And then I'll record them sometime.
Yeah, I get that. We need to cut a spot for this. We talked about it for a hot second, but then this is actually a day later than we typically record because I wasn't feeling well yesterday. So thanks for accommodating in that regard. Yeah, we need to cut a spot for this. But like, are we going to write it out? Like, what are we going to say? Maybe we do it right now and just cut it from the show. I don't know.
Come on, listen to the Pull and Focus podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know what's funny? Because my Casey, my one co-host on Scene Snobs podcast, he is a voice actor. He can do a million different voices. We used to, when I was working digital marketing for a tech firm, I would do videos for like different things. And I would always call him up and be like, hey, listen, I need you to sound like this. This is the idea for it. And like one of them was like, I need you to sound like LeVar Burton, because that's who they wanted. And he can throw his voice. Like he has to listen to it for a few seconds, and then he can do it. And then like he'll lay down the track. I'll just give him the script. And he hadn't been doing that for a long time. And for me, I was like, I don't know why I have not used you. And he always offers, and I'm like, yeah, I want to. I was like, I can't afford you, but which he would never charge me anyway. But I was like, I'll tell you what, I'll put your demo reel together if you do.
That's awesome, though. I mean, that's what it's all about. And you guys are already having
Was it the Hound of the Baskervilles there? Is that what's happening? Is that the movie you want to talk about tonight? You tell me now.
That's Annabelle and Ollie. I'm just going to let it roll this time. I may edit it out. I may not. But this is my life, like once an hour.
That's the way it should be. Dogs are amazing.
If someone has the audacity to walk down our street, that's what they get.
For anybody listening right now, if he doesn't cut this out, he would mute it while I was talking, and I'm stretching out what I'm talking about. So, like, if you're getting annoyed because I'm talking for too long, it's because I knew he needed to keep it muted.
This is like a real behind the scenes episode now. So I was muted because the dogs were making noise, but not to have you extend. So I had my finger on the trigger so that I could come in at a natural moment. But thanks for stretching, though.
I was trying so hard, and I'm like, so how do I keep talking about Casey?
All right, I'm leaving it in. Screw it, I'm leaving it in. It's like 40 seconds. If we lose a listener, I apologize. Send me a direct message. I'll send you $5 as an apology. I
can't imagine. Like, the absurdity of it will gain us like 4 more listeners for the one lost. We might lose like a very regal listener who's like, I love what they talk about, but we're gaining like 4 more people. Like, that shit's funny.
Yeah. Jeez Louise. Anyway, we should probably talk about movies. But oh no, so you're talking about Casey and him able to do voices and stuff like that. LeVar Burton. So if you heard Casey's version and LeVar Burton side by side, they would be drastically different, right? Because they don't sound the same. But when you have Casey's version of it alone and the affectations and the way LeVar pronounces things, that's what's a good mimic. You know, it's not an identical replication in any way. And I always find that like super interesting with the older comedians, you know, that did impressions and stuff like that, Rich Little and Dana Carvey and things like that. It's like it's a perfect caricature. Yeah. And it sells it that way. So that's cool. Yeah. If he's willing to do that, that'd be great. I think that'd be great for your show for bumpers and ads and promos and stuff.
There are some characters that he can do and sound exactly like, and mostly cartoon characters though. And I think that's because you can't really get away with sounding different from the cartoon character. So I'll give him that. Like, he's like, when he does Peter Griffin, he sounds just like Seth MacFarlane doing Peter Griffin. And he can do Stewie from like all these from Family Guy or The Simpsons and stuff. And it boggles my mind. But you're right, when he does, like when we had an opening, I was listening to our old show. I listened to like 3 of them yesterday because I was pulling all of those.
You don't have enough podcasts in your life. You need to listen to some other ones.
This is an old one. Like, this is good. This one's dead. This one's gone. It was like one of our more popular shows. Well, it was like our only show, but it was popular. But I was listening to it because he did all the voiceovers for our intros, our commercial breaks, and stuff like that. I was looking for him to pull those voiceovers to put on his reel. And the opening of one of them is a Twilight Zone-esque one, and he sound, like you said, he doesn't sound exactly like Rod Serling, but it fits really well. I'm just like, wow, I forgot how well done this was. It always amazes me when people who can do that.
Yeah. I used to work at this little theater, in case I've never mentioned it before, in Rockingham, North Carolina. And Jason Lambert was a friend of my cousin, and they were into filmmaking and stuff. And I got to work on a couple of projects with them, including Billy Bathgate. Nice. They shot part of that in my hometown when I was like a freshman in high school or something like that. But he could do the movie phone guy voice. So our local theater was an independent, but we had the movie phone guy with the listings, you know, and it's not like it was really bootleg. It's not like you could press 1 and get multiple times and stuff, because we had, you know, it played Thursday through Sunday, 7 and 9. And on Sunday there was a 1, 3, 7 and 9. Everyone knew the times, and there were only 2 movies playing, but you know, he would do the movie phone voice. And then he just had that voice, you know, that he was in bands and stuff like that. He had that sort of resonating, clear, not head voice. You know what I mean? Like singers have diaphragm voice, I guess, or versus head voice. anyway, it was pretty cool. He ended up being kind of a dick, so I don't know what happened to him, but
he became the movie phone.
Yeah, maybe he faded away with movie phone. His only paying gig dried up when the internet came along.
God, you ever watch Seinfeld when it was on?
Oh yeah.
When Kramer's phone got mixed up with the movie phone, and he just started giving everybody like the times for movies, and he'd be like, "Press 1 for this," or no, he was like, "Hit this button for that," and then somebody would hit it and be like, "Just tell me what movie you want to see."
Oh man, I just read an article this morning that Sarah Silverman, when she was on that show, had like a tense interaction with him. Like she flubbed a line or something, and he like broke character and like gave her a rash of shit. And then the next day, he was acting all buddy with her, and apparently, according to her on her podcast, she said she called him out on it. She's like, "No, you don't treat people like that," and then act like nothing happened or whatever. And then that sort of diffused it. And they became sort of casual friends after that or whatever. But yeah, I've heard a couple of stories about him outside of his really bad reaction to hecklers at that one time.
Yeah, I've heard
that he was an issue.
He doesn't like being thrown off. Like once you take him out of his zone, it's just anger is what he goes for. Yeah. Another one that when I talked to Larry Hankin, the guy who's like in all those shows, and he was in Seinfeld, played Mr. Pickles, and he played Mr. Heckles and Tom Pickle. But anybody who looks up Larry Hankin will know exactly what I'm talking about. He was, and I'm not stretching out now, I'm just trying to remember exactly what he said, but he was on Breaking Bad, and he played Old Joe, the car demolition guy.
Yeah.
And he said he did something, he kept messing up this line, and Bryan Cranston got really pissed with him. And it was like, you can't get the line. Like he went after him a little bit, and it was like that. He was like, he gets it. He was like, that's just who Cranston is. He's like in his zone. I was like, damn, man. I was like, that's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
So why would you do that?
But there's Cranston at interviews and stuff like that. They'll say, like this kid, he said, "Hey, I'm from New Mexico. Was there anything there that you liked about it or whatever?" And Cranston's response was, "Seeing your mom every night," or something like that. I was like, where'd that come from? Holy crap.
I feel like he did Breaking Bad, and like he was just like, he broke bad. He was just
like, I'm a badass now. This Malcolm in the Middle shit's gone, right?
So, oh God. So for you, you've been watching a lot of movies lately, and I've been watching some new ones because I'm gearing up for some reviews. But for you, before we get into your list, I want to hear what your favorite movie that you have never seen before, just in this month,
that I'm working on. So the list I'm working on is, like, you've heard of the movie a day for a year challenge, right? So I'm trying to do 365 movies in a year of movies that I've never seen before. Feature films, not Skyline submissions. I've really made a high hurdle for myself here, because that's a lot of movies. And I've watched, I don't know, what's today, the 29th? Let's see, I've watched 30. I'll tell you what it's not. It's not Citizen Kane. It took me 3 days to get through that damn thing. I understand how they played with light, and it was new and dramatic, and like keeping the person speaking the dialogue in shadow and reveals and hiding and stuff like that. But my God, that's a boring ass movie. Mm-hmm. Like, who cares? So on your advice, I'm going to see RKO 281, and then I want to watch Mank as well. And
Mank is good too.
Like Citizen Kane is like required reading before watching Mank, apparently, which I didn't even realize that. So, but it's not. It is absolutely not Citizen Kane. So I've seen it. I can check it off the list. I never have to discuss it again. I really fell into Westerns hard, and The Ballad of Lefty Brown, I gave 4 stars.
Nice.
Out of 5.
Well, before you, Ballad of Lefty Brown, there's a song, Lefty and Poncho, an old country song. Is that who they're talking about in that movie? Is that like what it's been? Okay, so it's just
no. Okay. So this guy is, and I don't know if it was based on fact or fiction or just Western legend or whatever, but so there were these 4 peacekeepers And they were probably softened in this movie, but I think they were actually Indian fighters is what they were, for use of a, period correct term is what they were doing. One of them becomes sheriff and he's going to be governor out of the four groups, or one of them is governor. And anyway, one of them's going to be a senator. That's what it is. But the governor has different plans for that, just without spoilers and stuff like that. So one of them gets killed in front of Lefty, and Lefty's been wounded. He's kind of silly. He's sort of like the Gabby Hayes in the John Wayne movies, right?
Okay.
He's kind of like the old crotchety, can't really get anything done, but he's always around in the middle of stuff or whatever. And, they kill his friend in front of him and try to kill him, but he doesn't die. And he gets set up for the murder of his friend. And he goes around and he brings justice ultimately to the situation. But it was just good. I just liked it. It was a good Western,
Nice. I like that. I definitely want to check that out. Have you ever seen In the Valley of Violence?
I don't know that one.
It's a Western that he did. He was normally a horror director, but it was a Western he did with Ethan Hawke.
Oh, he does a lot of Westerns, and I like his acting a lot.
He's so good in it. Yeah, if you get a chance to check that out, that's honestly one of the best Westerns I've ever seen. In the Valley of Violence is called. It came out in 2016. And it's a mysterious stranger and a random act of violence drag a town of misfits and nitwits into a bloody crosshairs of revenge. So Ethan Hawke's character is out for revenge against like this gang that's kind of taken over a town. But the way he does it, it's not your normal, like he's a nice guy, but like it turns real quick into like how violent he actually is, and what he's capable of. But the way he does it, it's not your normal like John Wayne step into the middle of the road sort of thing, Gary Cooper, sort of situation. Right. It's so really well done. And
it's not white hat, black hat cowboys.
Exactly. Like it shows that like even the white hats had to do some dirty ass things to do what they had to do. And he's not like a white hat. He's a bad guy. He's just a protagonist in the movie. So, and one thing I've really liked and gone on with, and I want to get your opinion now that you're watching a lot of Westerns. I want to talk about real quick your feelings on how they handle the culture changing. So I still think like if you're going to watch a Western and you have cavalrymen and such talking about Native Americans, but they should be calling them Indians. You should call them Injuns, things like that. Things that they actually did. Realistic period lingo at the time. But I feel like a lot's changing because actors are swaying and they're saying like, we shouldn't do this. But do you feel like it takes away from I'm trying to phrase it right. I'm not getting so many ums to give you tips. But so I feel like do you feel like it takes away from the realism of it, and even like the evil deeds that white men did to Native Americans at the time, if you take that out?
Yeah, I think it does. I think it's if it's supposed to reflect a historical point in time, I think it should be pretty accurate, even if it is considered derogatory or hate speech now. Maybe there's a way you can run a thread of enlightenment through the film somehow or something like that. But if you're doing like the Battle of Little Bighorn, you can't have the cavalry calling them Native Americans. That's not what they called them. Yeah. That's going to make them look better, and that's not what that movie's about. So, yeah, I get it. I've also been watching a lot of Civil War movies as well. So I watched Free State of Jones today. I watched 12 Years a Slave, and I watched Harriet. And they said the N-word a lot, and those are current contemporary movies. So I haven't really noticed it, but I am also just sort of getting back onto my Western kick. That's not Westerns from the 50s and 60s. You know what I mean? But, I think if you're doing a period piece, I think the language should reflect the period personally, because I think we're a sophisticated enough audience now to know that that's a point in time.
And, it's funny you say that because, not funny, but like it's kind of on par with what we're talking about. But it's interesting you say that because like it feels like movies that cover Black people from that time period, those will say and go out. And like Black people, Black filmmakers especially, are not afraid to hide from it. Like, this is what it was, and we're going to show you what it was. And that means something, I think. Whereas, like, if it's a white filmmaker, it seems like it kind of changes a little bit. It's like, we don't want to be insensitive. And it's like, but at that time, white people were insensitive people.
Right.
You know, and that's saying it lightly to say that. And then it kind of gives that argument into like what Spike Lee was saying about Django Unchained with how the N-word was used as much as it was because of Quentin Tarantino, thinking like, well, we have to say this is how it was, but like he was overusing it. That was Spike Lee's argument. So it's like there's so many different ways of thought about how to handle nomenclature of the times, I think.
Yeah. And you hire it's hard. I don't envy directors. It's because we talk so much about privilege and male gaze and white gaze and stuff like that. And your gaze is your gaze based on your environment. And my environment is the environment of a middle-aged white guy right now. Yeah. I'm aware of things at my age now that my dad wasn't. And certainly that his dad wasn't. They treated everyone differently than I treat people. I learned a lot of how to be a good person from bad examples of how to treat people.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So I think it's hard. So I think you surround yourself with a good team of advisors, of people who see things differently than you do, who have a different experience than you do, and you tell the story you're trying to tell, particularly if it's a contemporary time period, a historical piece. I think I've made myself clear. I think it should reflect what it was. And I just think of Tarantino as using that word a lot, regardless. So it didn't strike me in Django so much, I guess. But again, I saw that movie once. I'm not the Tarantino head that a lot of other people are. But I think you surround yourself with people that have a different experience and a different point of view, and you find a common thread of use of language and the actual words that you choose to tell the story, if you can. Everybody can't do that. Everybody doesn't have a big Hollywood budget with teams and stuff like that. So otherwise, I think you have to be kind of careful.
Yeah, no, that's a good point, man. I like that. So, but going back to like the Western period pieces, rather than what the nomenclature was, and I don't want to make it all about Western, but I do have questions. So, when you're watching these movies, and like I was saying with like the white hats and black, because in that movie, it's like in the Valley of Violence, Travolta plays the marshal, and he's the bad guy. Hawk plays the gunman that was like wronged and has to come back for violence against his crew. So I like that. I like kind of like I love the old John Wayne movies. I love most Westerns. It doesn't even have to have John Wayne, like anything really. Like I like a lot of them. And I like the hero, the white hat going up against the black hat. Like, that was fun, the Lone Ranger type stuff. But it seems so much better now. Like Westerns today are so much better with the complex outlook of what it was, and really a kind of a realistic look of what it was.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I think Westerns now, period pieces now, aren't so, for lack of a better term, black and white. There aren't good guys and bad guys. It shows complexity, and it shows struggle in making this decision to leave someone behind or go seek justice, what you perceive as justice, from the Cree Indians over here at this camp or whatever, who are just always defensive because of what's happened to them from the U.S. cavalry. Like, it's interesting. The Revenant was interesting in that regard. It was a revenge tale for sure, but there was a lot of the French and the Pawnees working together. You've seen The Revenant. You know what's going on there. It was a complex story. It wasn't just a revenge tale. Big Kill is a new one. I think Scott Martin directed it and he acted in it. And I don't think it was intended to be a comedy, but there were some really funny lines in it. And that's a 2019, I think, 2018, 2019 Western. But it's pretty complex as well. Jason Patric's in it, Scott Martin, Danny Trejo's in it. There's this one scene. This one character of the two buddies, protagonist buddies, is having sex in this little Mexican village, and then here comes Danny Trejo. He's the Mexican general. So they have to run. They have a gunfight and stuff like that. And they come up on this hill and they go, "There's Texas. He can't follow us into Texas." So they cross the little creek and go up the hill. expecting Danny Trejo to stop, and he doesn't stop. And the one brother goes, "He can't do that. He can't do that." And it just struck me so funny because it just did. And so there's a lot of little lines like that goes, he's like, if we do this, we're going to get shot at. And the one guy goes, "Yeah, I know." He goes, "We're going to get shot at." It's just like resolved that's what it's going to be. But that's a complex tale too of the cattle business and a silver mine drying up and these gunfighters and, all that tension and the corrupt marshal, and the town's actually run by a dirty preacher. They call him the preacher. I think there's just a lot going on, and the complexity is better as opposed to we got some cattle rustlers, let's go get them type of thing.
Nice, man. I'm definitely gonna check that out. That sounds exciting. And that's one of the new ones you watched?
Yeah, it's called Big Kill. Sweet. And it's Big Kill, Arizona.
Everything takes place in Arizona now.
Aside from the politics, Arizona's pretty fucking awesome. I loved it out there.
I've heard good things for sure. Yeah. What else are you loving right now? What else do you got, geared up to check out?
So I've added a bunch of stuff to a watch list that I sort of need to track down. So Portrait of a Lady on Fire, I haven't seen. I really want to. Mm-hmm. Hidden Figures, I haven't seen.
Oh, Hidden Figures, so good.
Yeah. Paris, Texas, I haven't seen. Probably going to catch a little grief for this one. Brazil, I haven't seen Brazil.
A lot of people disagree, but I don't know that. I mean, you should probably check it out, but I don't know that you're missing anything, really.
Yeah, well, I have a couple on here that I'm reluctant to watch, including like The English Patient is on this list. I don't know, man.
Good luck, man.
Good luck.
I would have never watched that because I forget how many years. It has to be like 8 or 9 years now. I was trying to watch all of the Best Picture winners from like December to the time that the Oscars was going to be on that year. Mm-hmm. That was the year Hurt Locker won. And so, yeah, I think it was like 2012 or something like that. And I did it. I got them all done. But man, some of them were tough. They really were. Yeah, it's still like there's some I'll never go back and I'm like, how are you the Best Picture winner? But there were some that I would have never looked for on my own. I've never heard about. And I was like, these movies are magnificent.
It's a bunch of these are Oscar winners or just films that are heralded for one reason or another. So I figure I should fill in the gaps in my movie knowledge and like at least give them a shot,
Absolutely.
We're still on lockdown, so why not?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I would love to see where your list goes. Like, especially like check out lists. Check out like the AFI lists, things like that. Mm-hmm. See what you think, like what you haven't seen. Because you can find, like, again, you'll find some bad ones, but you can find some gems on there too.
Yeah, and a lot of it just puts into a unique perspective of the Academy's out of their damn mind, Yeah, how could you pick this over this? That doesn't make any sense. But then, how much of it is subjective? And then you get into the campaign. How successful was the campaign for that movie? How much beer, wine, champagne, and caviar did they provide? How many hugs did the starlet have to give out at all these parties that they hosted, at the Directors Guild and the Producers Guild and everything else,
Well, I think the hardest one for me were the 50s and 60s. The 50s had some great ones, like On the Waterfront. Marty is a great man. Have you ever seen Marty with Ernest Borgnine? Mm-hmm. Oh, watch that movie. It is a beautiful movie, and Ernest Borgnine deserved the Oscar for that one. Oh, it's such a good movie. That might be, out of the 50s, all the Best Picture winners in the 50s. And now this is From Here to Eternity, American Paris, On the Waterfront, and Bridge on the River Kwai, and Ben-Hur. That might be my favorite out of all the 50s. It was it was a simple tale of a man who has no self-confidence, does not believe in himself, looking to just be loved.
I just added it to the watch list.
Sweet.
I love Ernest Borgnine, so.
He was so good. It's probably, and listen, I love him and everything, but it's probably his best role ever.
Wow. That's funny. I don't think I've ever heard of that movie, if I'm honest.
It's got to be because he was the star. They took a chance on him because it was he's playing like a butcher who's just like an everyday man who's not. There's nothing outstanding about him, and he often in that movie is saying there's nothing outstanding, but his kindness is what outstanding. He's just a kind-hearted person, but he never sees that for himself. One movie that if you can deprogram from your minds and never watch again is probably Sound of Music.
That can't be on the list. I've seen it 100 times.
God, why so much? That movie stinks.
I love that movie. I love that you hate it too.
It's so much. I can't believe it beat out Dr. Zhivago for that year.
See, I can't remember that stuff. I didn't know it was up for an Oscar, but of course it was.
Oh yeah, it won Best Picture. Sound of Music didn't deserve it. People get so mad at me for hating that movie. There's certain movies that people get like. I understand the Sound of Music. I'm in the minority. I get it, and like I joke with people, and I'm like, "How can you like that shit?" But for the most part, I'm like, no, I mean, I get it. Everybody loves it. My grandmother is one of her favorite movies of all time. So, like,
that's probably why you hate it, because she probably made you watch it a bunch.
She only made me watch it once.
Oh,
and
yeah.
I said I didn't like it, and she never made me watch it again. But it was one of her favorites, and I was very close with her. So, like, I'm surprised I don't like it more, think of it more fondly. But, man, it's a 3-hour boring movie.
Oh, that's another thing, too. All these movies are fucking long, man. They're all 2 hours, 18 minutes, 2 hours, 20 minutes. Like, I think Free State of Jones today was 2 hours 5, maybe. I was like, well, this is rather short.
Yeah. Oh, my God, so much. I just watched, last night was 2 hours and 7 minutes. I watched The Little Things, the new Denzel movie. And I won't give anything away, but I really liked it. I'm going to do a review on it, and I'm actually going to have a police officer join me for the review to talk about like that side of it. For the most part, it was a very slow movie. So 2 hour and 7 minutes slow burn movie is tough.
That's brutal.
Yeah.
That makes it feel like a whole evening.
It was. So like but I'll give it to this one. Like it's worth watching. But there's a lot of slow burn movies. Like if it's too long, I'm like, yeah, you guys got to shorten this up. There's too much story here.
I was getting a little bit of that with Free State of Jones this morning because it ended 3 times, and I was like, oh, those aren't credits rolling. There's more going on. Okay, Act 5. Here we go.
Well, I bet Citizen Kane too had to do that too because that is a slow burn movie.
I just fell asleep, and then I'd wake up, turn the TV off, and I'd try it again the next day and try to find where I was or whatever. So I feel like I can honestly say I watched it all. I didn't enjoy any of it.
It was fun. That's why I always tell people who are like, I want to watch that. I want to watch Citizen Kane. I tell them often, I'm like, just watch RKO 281. It's a much better movie. It's, moves more. The story's better. And you at least understand like what the story of Citizen Kane is. I was like, if you want to be a cinematographer, I get watching Citizen Kane. I do. Like, because you need to understand that. But if you're not, like, if you want to be a writer, you don't have to watch Citizen Kane.
No. And I understand Orson Welles as a young man. He could get it for most people. But Jesus Christ, man. What an overactor, and just chewing scenery. And it's, what, 1941, I think. So it's like that. And they were newspapermen in the movie, so they all had this fast talking, and we're going to do this and blah, 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 and blah, blah, blah. It's like, oh, it's just so tiring.
But he's like that. That's the craziest part about it. He's like that in the movie for a reason, and people don't. Most people who watch it, it's the same way. They don't until you see something like RKO 281 or you read about it. You don't understand why he's acting the way he's acting in the movie. He's actually a genius because he is portraying exactly what he wants to portray in the movie. And that's him mocking William Randolph Hearst.
Right. And I don't understand that relationship, which I think RK281 is going to like lay out, right?
Yeah. Though, and not to give that movie away because it's actual like fact. William Randolph Hearst basically made Orson Welles look like a fool at a dinner. So he made Citizen Kane to say fuck you. He hated him, so he was like, I'm going to just say fuck you. And then everything, and like RKO 281, like really spells out like certain things for you.
Right.
And Liev Schreiber does an amazing job, and Malkovich is great as Mank. And I was glad they made Mank because in that movie you see Malkovich and he's got a side role to it. And I'm like, this would be a great movie too. Just his side of things. And they made it, and it was a great movie.
There you go.
So it only took like 60 years, but whatever.
And Fincher, right? That's Fincher. Mank is Fincher, right?
Yeah, Fincher did that one.
Yeah.
I don't know who did RKO.
Well, that's an oldie too, right?
Yeah, it came out like 20 years ago or so.
There's movies I feel like I need to see or need to try to see, so that's what I'm trying to do this year.
Well, one thing I'm going to say for any independent filmmakers listening right now, don't go to hedge funds for money. They don't have any to give you right now.
Oh my God.
In your movie, but not right now. I got to ask you about that. I know we're a movie thing, but this is so... AMC's in it, so I mean, that kind of works.
Yeah, it ties in a bit.
I've connected those dots. What do you think about everything? I'm loving this, and I want it to keep going. And when they opened Robinhood back up again yesterday, it skyrocketed back.
Yeah.
Oh, I hate billionaires.
It's fighting fire with fire, and they're gonna change the rules and make it so that can't happen anymore. But hedge funds will still be able to do what they're doing, which I think is total and absolute bullshit. So it's an instance where the everyman, the every person stops arguing amongst themselves just enough to come together and coalesce into a force to be reckoned with. And then it's made a bunch of people a lot of money. And now they're going to be like, oh, well, I can start hedging. You know what I mean? So this is not a good idea anymore. And I don't know. It's, I do know I'm loving it. I'm loving it. I'm watching it happen, and I'm just giggling my ass off. And I wish I had 10 grand to put into something, BlackBerry or AMC or whatever else.
I wish I bought AMC.
Oh yeah, exactly. For a nickel or whatever it was. Right. But what people don't understand is, they say, oh, well, the price of the stock's going to come right back down. I was like, yeah, but people were buying it at $350. AMC has that money. They can operate, they can function, they can not go bankrupt now, potentially. I mean, who knows what's going to happen, but.
And it's every meme that has come out about it is pure gold. And I think you posted one, or somebody posted something, and it was just like, come on, guys, remember, this is hurting a lot of people who own 3 boats.
That wasn't me, because I would remember that one.
That was such a good one. And like just everybody just being like, come on, guys, what are they going to blow their nose with if they don't have money? Exactly. Stuff like that. And it's just like, they're getting their comeuppance, but I just think this is going to be the world now. And like, yeah, you can change the rules however you want, but these people who know what they're doing in a tech world are going to be able to go by the rules again and do this and screw over rich people again. And I want it so bad. Yeah.
I think it's completely valid. They were operating in a structure set up by the wealthy, and they just turned it against them. So screw those guys.
Oh yeah.
And someone called it Occupy Wall Street 2.0 or something like that. And I was like, I love it. I love it.
Yeah. And that's picture who learned about that. What's that, like 10 years ago or so that happened? It was like, we're going to protest this way. And now we have a younger group coming up who are 10 years ago. They were maybe 10. Now they're 20. And they're like, oh no, we're going to occupy. We're not going to go sit outside of Wall Street and bitch.
Hold outside.
We're going to take them for everything they have. And like, that's it. I truly hope nobody gets bored and they just keep doing this. And with other things, just over and over. I want these hedge funds to completely dismantle. I'm over rich people.
It's an absolute benefit to the meme stock, and it's an absolute liability to the hedgers and the short sellers. Mm-hmm. So that's predatory business in my mind. What the hedge funds are doing, and creating these shorts and like choosing a business and choosing because of their clout and their reputation, driving the stock down so that their clients can profit off of that. You shouldn't be allowed to do that. That should not be legal activity. It's completely predatory. And, you know, the gamers, the nerds, the basement dwellers, you know, all those names that they've been called all this time, they're smarter than you guys. They might not have the resources that the other guys have, but they're smarter than you, and they'll use what's available to them. If you piss them off enough, if you fuck with their GameStop,
yeah, they
will make you pay.
And it's, you know what, every one of them, or it's just like, you know what, let's make this work. Let's let the little guy win for a little bit, you know, because we've been watching everything. It was such a beautiful thing after COVID and everything that's gone on throughout 2020, and then the Capitol riots. This I love. I love the black eye on these Wall Street douchebags. And I'm just going to say this. I'm not going to rant. I'm going to say this. For anybody out there who may be wealthy, please give us some money. But no, I don't have a problem with wealth. I don't have a problem with earned wealth. I don't have a problem with people living luxurious lifestyles, things like that. I have a problem with people wanting more than they need and taking it from people who don't have it, and stepping on the necks of the little guy. If you have to obtain wealth and doing it that way, you're a piece of garbage. You deserve everything that's happening right now. And these hedge funds have been doing it for decades, and they deserve to be gone. Make the wealthy these Redditors, because they're going to do the right thing with it.
I agree, almost wholesale agree with everything you just said. How much is like God, my favorite screaming comedian, Bill Burr, you know, he's like, how big's your yacht gotta be? You know?
Yeah.
It's just too much. And like those predatory lending practices that led to, you know, the downfall of the middle class in this country in 2007. I mean, you know, it led up it, but it came to a head in 2008 and 2009. You know, God, I get so frustrated because I was a victim of it. I've been upside down in my house until this year, since 2008. And this is a little bitty house, dude. I mean, it was insane. And when we were buying this house and we refinanced the first time to do some renovations and stuff like that, they tried very hard to get me to borrow $350,000 on this house. And I know you've never been here because of COVID times and stuff like this. My house is 25 by 25. It's 2 furnished stories and an unfinished basement on a third of an acre lot, 90 miles from Washington, D.C. It's not worth $350,000 today. And it certainly wasn't worth that in 2007. And they were like, well, you're not going to stay there and the value's going to go up. I was like, I can't pay that mortgage. Loan me this much. You know what I mean? But so many people didn't do that and ended up homeless, you know?
Yeah.
It's just fucking disgusting what they did back then. And then they've just found other ways to do it, you know? Ugh.
Yeah, it's an unfair thing. And that's why I want more of this. I want to beat down. I want the whole thing just like tear it down in that way. Don't storm a Capitol building and try and murder people.
Right. This isn't V for Vendetta. I don't want fire bombs and I don't want violence and stuff like that. These are the established rules. Use them against them. You know,
exactly.
Thank you for being smart enough to do that.
But that's what works. That's what gets you through, is like this type of like, all right, we're all going to band together and we're going to take down this establishment that's been screwing us for so long. And we're going to do it in such a way where we're sort of trolling, but you know, it's for good. And I would love to see more of that happen rather than see these jackals, you know, running up trying to murder people in a Capitol building and threatening politicians' lives. And don't get me wrong, it's not like I love these politicians or I think they're good people. They're not. Every single one of them is a terrible person on both sides, except Bernie. Bernie's the man. I do love Bernie. You know, especially with everything he did, he deserves a special shout out for making shirts and such. He made all this gear with that meme, that Bernie meme, and he sold it, and he donated everything to Meals on Wheels.
Nice. I hadn't heard that. That's awesome.
It was like $5 million he sold worth of stuff, and he donated every cent of it to Meals on Wheels.
That's awesome.
You know, so like somebody turned around, and that's why I like Bernie. But like, you know,
Bernie's the man.
I don't have to agree with his philosophies to think, hey, at least he's a good dude who's trying to do good things.
Right.
So
well, that's the point. Like, I think a huge problem is term limits. I'll never stop saying that. Term limits is an issue. Right. There needs to be term limits, but there also needs to be more than two parties so that there's different philosophies and it's not so polarizing. So it's not like the Westerns, black hat, white hat, because you're indoctrinated in one or the other. I like to think of myself as an independent thinker with social liberal tendencies with some fiscal conservative tendencies. Yeah. There's no party that represents me in the United States.
It's supposed to be libertarianism, but yes.
Yeah, well, those guys that's a bit far.
Yeah. No, because again,
libertarians are far.
Extreme. It goes too extreme on everything. Yeah. And they feel they have to be extreme because all of the extremists in the liberal side and all the extremists on the conservative side are just, it's crazy.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't know if you feel, I don't know if anyone feels like this, but as much as it hurts me to pay my taxes and to pay my bills and to spend that cash, such a percentage of my income or whatever, I do have a sense of pride that I can pay it and that I am choosing to pay it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because it is what it is. And if you want to keep more of your money by exploiting loopholes and, like you said, putting your foot on the throat of the little guy, it's like, how do you sleep at night? You know what I mean? That's knowing that if you took the moment to think about what you did to make this giant lump sum of money and you're just trying to secure your family, like you're doing it for surface level, honorable reasons. But if you think about what your tax lawyer or somebody did to make that investment happen, and if you chase that investment down to see who it really impacts, see who that money's coming from, I bet you'd be pretty surprised and you might feel a little different about it, unless you're a greedy Wall Street asshat.
That's for sure. You always put a face on everything and it always kind of holds the assholes. I will say this has been a great episode of Pulling Politics. No, I'm going to bring it back full circle. Here we go. If you want term limits, more filmmakers need to make movies about it.
That's a good point.
Put it in people's minds. If you put that in people's minds, more people will fight for it.
God, how do you even tell that story? Because there's no example of it,
I don't know. Get on it, Hollywood writers. Let's do this.
I mean, the best example would be Washington stepping down, right?
Yeah.
Not in scandal, not in disgrace, choosing to step down.
All right, so everybody watch Hamilton more. And understand why just that song, understand why he's stepping down and listen to the words, and then let's go make sure there's a vote for term limits.
Yeah. Something about a fig tree or something, I don't know.
remember Washington and why he did it, and then remember Congress was like, we're not doing that. And it's been 400 years.
Yeah. Well, we took a ride today, didn't we?
We did take a ride today, but I always love taking a ride with you, buddy. It's our road trip day. If more people listen to us, the world will be a better place. I'm saying that right now. It's a fact.
There's we need some haters too, though. I'm sure they're out there.
Oh yeah. But like because of our cult of Pulling Focus, our PF cult that we're going to gain, those haters they're going to go by the wayside real quick.
Yeah. Pulling cultists. That's what we're doing.
We only talk about cult documentaries.
Oh God.
Amazing.
Well, it's been a fun show. Everybody, please find us on Facebook at Pulling Focus Podcast Show. You can find us on Instagram and Twitter at PFPShow. Our email is pullingfocuspodcastshow@gmail.com. And there's the scenesnobs.com, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Skyline Indie Film Fest, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat. You can find me at BP Sookie on Letterboxd and follow along with my list and tell me I'm very wrong about my short and concise reviews if you want.
Go check out scenesnobs.com.
Absolutely. Check out scenesnobs.com. Content every day of the week now. Is that right?
Every day of the week.
Yeah, because why not?
It's a channel.
It's a channel. And big things coming, I think, for Scene Snobs, right? That you can't talk about right now, but
I'm hoping so. Yeah, I don't have anything concrete to put out right now, but hopefully big announcements very soon.
Sounds good. Can't wait to hear it, buddy.
All right. Take care, everybody.
See you guys. Bye.
You've been listening to Pulling Focus with Brian Patrick and Mick Manhattan. Follow the show on Twitter and Instagram at Skyline Indie Film FE and at The Scene Snob. Please rate and review the show wherever you get your podcasts. Thanks for listening.
And that's our show, everybody. Thanks for listening. I am Mick Manhattan, the Scene Snob. We always appreciate you guys tuning in and commenting along and everything else. Go check out this show or any of our other shows on thescenesnobs.com. Thescenesnobs.com. We love you. You guys are awesome. And if you would like, follow and subscribe to our social media. That really helps us go a long way. And please spread the word. Tell your friends. Have them come in. We love feedback and everything else. So everybody, you have a great day. Again, thanks for listening. Thescenesnobs.com. Take care, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.